'Twas brillig and the slithy toves did gyre and gimble in the wabe, all mimsy were the borogaves, and the mome rats outgrabe. Beware the jabberwock, my son, the jaws that bite, the claws that catch, beware the jub-jub bird, and shun the Firmius bandersnatch. And hast thou slain the jabberwock? Come to my arms, my beamish boy, O frabjous day, calloo callay, he chortled in his joy. That's nonsense. Let's put Tim Burton on it. There's something about Tim Burton that is only Tim Burton. His style is a sort of grim cheeriness, cheery grimness, whimsical darkness. It's sort of light and dark at the same time. I think it's safe to call it Burton-esque at this point. You definitely get an image in your mind, whether it's Jack Skellington or Beetlejuice or any one of the myriad Helena Bonham Carter characters that have paraded through Burton's movies. It seems of late that Burton has departed from original content to focus primarily on adaptations and remakes. Dumbo, Dark Shadows, Batman, Planet of the Apes. It seems like the real trick is finding the project that fits his style rather than him trying to fit into a different aesthete. Today, I'm not arguing about how extremely dark Roald Dahl was that makes Burton's Charlie and the Chocolate Factory deliciously and appropriately unnerving. We'll save that for another day. No, today we're trying to find anything nice to say about Alice in Wonderland. Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland gets lumped in with the other Disney live-action remakes, and I'm not quite sure it belongs there. Rather than being a remake of an animated classic, it should be looked at more like Hook. It's a sequel to a book that at one time was adapted into an animated film, but familiarity with the animated version isn't going to carry you very far. Burton's dark whimsy is a perfect fit for Wonderland. We start with Alice's father meeting with his business partners. They are interrupted when Alice has a bad dream and her father comes to comfort her. Her father encourages her to embrace a certain amount of madness because all the best people are. Flash forward to Alice all grown up. She still has those dreams, but now her father is dead, the fortune is gone, and Alice is eligible marriage material. She and her mother go to a party hosted by Lord Ascot, the man who now owns her father's business. Unbeknownst to Alice, this is intended to be an engagement party. There's a lot of groundwork here that Alice doesn't really have a choice in the matter. There's a moment when everyone at the party is staring at Alice, heavy with anticipation for her answer, and she runs away. She chases the white rabbit and falls down the hole into Wonderland. The scene plays out much like the original movie. We hear voices behind a door wondering why she doesn't remember. It gives us some insight as to where we are in the story. She's been here before. This is a sequel, not a remake. Something that goes hand in glove with Tim Burton's style is a Danny Elfman soundtrack, and I would be remiss in not mentioning how good it is. It adds an otherworldly texture that deepens the experience. Rabbit, Dormouse, Tweedledee, and Dum don't know if she is the right Alice, so they take her to Absalom, the hookah-smoking caterpillar who says she isn't hardly Alice. Why are they looking for Alice? The Oraculum, a Wonderland calendar, predicts that Alice will slay the Jabberwocky on Frabjous Day and free them from the evil Red Queen. They get attacked by the Red Queen's soldiers and the Bandersnatch. The card soldiers are sort of remarkable. I love the design of this. The Oraculum is stolen, the Bandersnatch loses an eye to the Dormouse. Even as I'm saying all these things, it sounds utterly ridiculous. Here's the thing. Lewis Carroll is a master of literary nonsense. If you couldn't tell from the intro, half of what he writes is completely made up. Alice in Wonderland is not something that he came up with during a bad LSD trip, partly because LSD wasn't synthesized until 1938, wasn't consumed until 1943, and wasn't popularized in culture until the 1960s. Alice in Wonderland was published in 1865, so you do the math.
No thanks, we're on vacation. You do the math, you do it.
Anyway, scholars with more degrees than me are still arguing about the intention behind Carroll's nonsense. Does it follow a Socratic tradition to help shape a moral personal identity, as Charles Tolliver and Elizabeth Olsen suggested? Or is it a nonsense based on the natural confusions and errors that children fall into as suggested by George Pitcher? Humphrey Carpenter's take was that Carroll's nonsense takes a simple idea and pursues it with ruthless comic literalness. and you thought Wonderland had rabbit holes. I think it's the last theory where we find the perfect fit with Burton. As Alice makes her way through Wonderland, now an adult, she finds that she has lost some of her, for lack of a better description, sense of wonder.
He said it! He said it!
Much like Peter Banning in Hook, Alice has had her inner child forced into submission. On this journey through Wonderland, Alice will need to find that inner child again. While Alice has grown up, it seems as though the characters populating Wonderland have become more mad. The Red Queen rules with a giant head and iron fist. Her knave carries out her orders, a gleeful sadist. At one point, he forces a bloodhound to search for Alice by kidnapping the dog's wife and puppies. The Cheshire Cat leads Alice to the Hatter and the March Hare. We get some backstory on the situation. The Red Queen uses the Jabberwocky as her final and most brutal enforcer. As long as the Jabberwocky lives, the Queen will rule. They are found by the Bloodhound. The Hatter helps Alice escape by giving himself up. Instead of going to the White Queen, Alice decides to rescue the Hatter. She's told that it's not what the Oraculum foretold, and here we have the first break in Alice's character. She has a rebellious streak in her. She's not going to do something just because the Oraculum foretold it. She doesn't believe it's real anyway. While at the Red Queen's castle, Alice retrieves the Vorpal sword. It's being guarded by the Bandersnatch, the very same one from the beginning. She returns its eye and it lets her pass. This is the nature of Alice. She has the capacity for kindness even in a brutal nonsense world. Through a complex series of events, the main players escape and make it to the White Queen's castle. When asking for a volunteer champion, several people step forward. Even though they know only Alice will succeed, there is no shortage of characters willing to die for the cause.
Who will step forth to be champion for the White Queen?
That would be I.
You have very poor evaporating skills. I should be the one.
I'll do it.
No, me. No, me.
In a scene that mirrors the proposal at the engagement party, everyone turns to Alice to hear her answer. Like before, she runs away. She encounters Absalom, who's in the middle of forming his chrysalis, where he says she wasn't hardly Alice, but she was much more Alice now. She goes back, faces her destiny, kills the Jabberwocky. The Hatter does a crazy, weird dance that he hasn't done since the Red Queen took control, and it's time for her to go home. She returns to the party, tells everyone off, and asks to meet with Lord Ascot, where she becomes the heir to her father in vision and execution, a business partner, instead of a wife. Alice in Wonderland is a lot like Hook. It's a story about rediscovering your inner child and reigniting your sense of wonder. Tim Burton was a perfect fit for this film. He is one of few directors who could really embrace this nonsense. The entire cast gets it. Johnny Depp turns up the Jack Sparrow weirdness to 11.
Ew. I don't wish to alarm you, but it smells as though you might have dropped something.
Oh, never mind him, he's mad. Come along.
If you didn't think his Jack Sparrow antics were amusing, you are not going to like him in this. But I do think the Hatter has more heart than Captain Jack. Helena Bonham Carter is delightfully terrifying.
I need a pig here. I love a warm pig belly for my aching feet.
Is sadistically charming, Anne Hathaway is sickeningly sweet. Wonderland is a world of contradictions. It's hard to build something coherent out of brillig and slithy toves. It's not a relaxing movie. It's unnerving, much like the original book. It's not a bad rabbit hole to fall through. That's all for this episode of Anything Nice to Say. Join us next time and never be ashamed to like what you like. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. If you have a movie suggestion, be sure to drop it in the comments. For exclusive content and early access, head over to our Patreon to subscribe. Check out our merch store for new designs. And hey, my book Live Like Legends is out. Check that out too.